Now that the boogeyman of the IMF has been debunked, another mysterious monster seems to have reared its ugly head: the privatization of energy. The term privatization has been both sensationalized and demonized by political parties on either side of the spectrum. Arguments from both, once sifted through the politics, do have their merit. In order to begin privatization, the CEB would need to be unbundled, not like the previous vertical unbundling that occurred. In 2009, through the Electricity Act restructuring of the CEB didn't happen to plan as originally proposed in the 2002 Electricity Reform Act. A single buyer model was introduced with the CEB transmission entity as a single buyer, but the business units or divisions within the CEB were not spun off as separate entities with independent ownership structures and management. This leads us to where we are today, under the monopoly of a state-owned enterprise. The CEB holds a total of 6 power sector licenses as follows: 1 generation license for about 66% of all generating capacity in the grid, 1 transmission license for 100% of transmission and for 100% of bulk supply in accordance with the single buyer model, and 4 distribution licenses that in total covers approximately 90% of customers. The CEB has a turbulent history with its loss making. Initially, one could point at the subsidized rates that were given across the board, but now that we have seen multiple tariff hikes and more promise in August 2023, maybe it's time we understand that the problem is systemic. With reports of crazy high salaries for meter readers, bonuses for reading the meter well, as well as reading the meter correctly, it's easy to understand that we need to fix this problem sooner than later. As per Minister Kanchana, on the 29th of January 2023, these were the outstanding debts owed by CEB to various institutions. You may ask, how does privatization fix this? The most obvious answer is that a private profit-making entity would be terrible at their job if they allow for inefficiencies that bleed them dry. So instead of passing on the cost to the customer like we have at the moment through cost-effective pricing, they are more inclined to save money. Because the moment we allow multiple players into the energy market, market forces will align itself in a way that the most affordable product will be incentivized. So how would this work? First, we need to unbundle CEB. CEB currently holds the licenses to generation, transmission, and distribution. So what do these terms really mean? Generation is the process of making electrical energy using various sources: thermal power plants powered by fuel or coal, renewable sources like wind, solar, hydro. Transmission is the bulk energy transfer of electrical energy from generating power plants for electrical substations. Electricity is transported over long distances at high voltages, which minimizes the loss of electricity. Distribution and selling is the final stage in the delivery of electric power. It carries electricity from the transmission system to individual consumers. By unbundling CEB, it would allow us to separate all the units and businesses under CEB into separate entities. And this will allow us to understand what exact part of our energy systems is underperforming and open up this market to foreign investment. At this point in time, the government does not have the capacity to invest into development of the energy sector, whether that be renewable energy plants or upgrading transmissions. The cost of importing generators, turbines, and the cranes needed for construction cannot be borne by the state with its current economic situation. Even if we were to manufacture the panels and other things, it would still cost the state an enormous amount upfront, which would require loans that it cannot take at the moment. The fear of retroactive price hikes, unreasonable surges, limiting of access, and most of the problems that are spearheaded by those opposing privatization can be solved by strengthening our regulatory body, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. Privatization will also break apart political hegemonies or union interests by removing a monopoly, allowing for smoother reforms and discussions. At this important juncture, it is imperative that we push for effective and lasting change to be made. Lack of price regulating, arbitrary price increases, cronyism in bidding processes are all problems that can be solved with privatizing. This first best solution may not be feasible at this time, despite the enormity of the crisis we are in and the contribution made to that crisis by the current order in the electricity sector. The buck doesn't stop with unbundling. Even after unbundling, monopolies or oligopolies may still persist. Collusion may occur as it did with Enron in California, but with private investment, we'll at least be able to regulate. So I hope this explainer helped you understand the necessity of privatizing our electricity board. For more content like this, please make sure to subscribe and like and share. And at the same time, make sure you follow our other social media as well.